G'day, how you doing? Who wants to read a disclaimer? Anybody? Right. I'm here to talk today about why we should care about investing in the defence asset class. Beaton's Own Venture Partners is actually an ESG arbitrage opportunity, giving investors access to a $1.9 trillion US annual market. The US defence spending, believe it or not, is at record lows. Australia spends roughly, in US dollar terms, $32 billion a year on defence in their budget. The US is currently spending $874 billion a year, and that is a near record low. The average in the non-wartime years of the Cold War was actually above 6%. Europe is only spending 1.8% of their GDP on defence. Poland is a standout here at closer to 4%. Having been occupied by Russia under the old Soviet Empire, the new Polish motto is hell no, never again. Anyone thinks that certain US politicians who are expressing a doubt for the willingness of the US to send their sons and daughters to defend Europe just because Europe won't spend enough on defence hasn't thought hard enough. These numbers have to rise. There's a lot of money being spent on defence. Europe has a population GDP close to the US and spending almost only half of what the US does. Why is it? Why are these defence budgets necessary? I assume if you don't know this, you haven't turned the TV on in the last sort of 2 years. Global security is the worst it's been since the 1930s, including what's been generated by COVID. COVID tested the extent of global supply chains. And when we all shut down, we looked after ourselves and trade routes stopped working. The Ukraine war has highlighted the quantities of modern defence articles required because we forgot how bad a mechanised ground war in Europe was it again. It's been 70 years since we tried it, so we thought we'd give it another go. Regional tensions spurred in the Middle East by Iran have led to a worsening in world trade and other issues. The Taiwan question, constant threats by the People's Republic of China to take Taiwan. Xi Jinping is on record as saying that he's required the PLA to be able to militarily retake Taiwan by 2027. The last time we ignored a tyrant was in February 2022, just prior to the invasion of Ukraine. The big issue is the West has lost one of its biggest advantages in military technology, and that's precision. Previously, our precise, exquisite, expensive and few weapons were our advantage. Now the Russians have worked out how to turn off GPS on the battlefield. We are left with imprecise, dumb, few against the dumb and many of our foes. And there's been rapid innovation in combat. If you think the threat of commercial innovation to destroy a company's market will actually spur an innovative response, wait till you see what happens when the threat of battlefield annihilation occurs. What we're seeing in Ukraine right now is hardware and software innovation cycles measured in days. So there's lots of tailwinds in this sector, and tailwinds in the defence space is a pretty horrible thing. In general, there's a deteriorating tech macro environment for investing. We saw that in late 21 when pretty well venture stopped working after one hell of a party in the year of 2021. AI is a confounding factor. It's leading to a rate of innovation, a rate of change in business models that makes it hard for investors to understand what to do. And there's also an increasing investment actually in this counter-cyclical space of defence. PitchBook reports $100 billion in defence venture in the last 3 years. There is now reduced influence on traditional suppliers. That is, during COVID, we found that traditional suppliers didn't work. So we no longer talk about offshore, we talk about nearshore, onshore, friendshore, allied shore, anything but offshore. Actually, anything but China shore is probably the better description. And there's an opportunity here. So there's a latent opportunity. The defence funding space in Australia to this point has mostly been Commonwealth granted non-dilutive funding. It's been mishandled to a large degree, but it has created an amazing range of capability. AUKUS is a $370 billion program over 32 years to buy 3 US nuclear submarines and build 5 of our own. Thousands of engineers and scientists will come into the defence sector, work for a large company, get pissed off, start their own business. They will need funding. That's a medium-term breeze of fresh air that will blow through the sector. In order for us to build those submarines here and to maintain them, something called ITAR will need to be liberalised. ITAR is a set of regulations the US foists on the allied world as to how they export and how you can import defence technology to them. For all intents and purposes, Australia and the UK will become the 51st and 52nd state of America, 52nd state of America, excuse me, for ITAR purposes. No one knows what that looks like yet, but it will only get better. Curiously, Russia used to be an 18.6% supplier of global arms exports. And in a rising market, we're going from 1.2 trillion to 1.9 trillion in global defence in allied defence expenditure. Russia, whilst it was a small part of the allied market, will be taken out of that. Defence is hard. 3 reasons it's hard. A, it's all mostly hardware. B, it's the customer perception. There's one single customer out there, and that customer's pretty big and dumb. And then there's ESG, which is that societal pox we all have to get along with. Defence is mostly hard, but defence is also broken up into 5 different domains: sea, air, land, space, and cyber. So when you look at portfolio construction, getting into the defence asset class, you need to think in terms of those 5, as well as hardware and software, given their different return profiles. So it's very important to understand that the defence market is highly stratified in that respect. Single customer concentration risk is true if you market to only Australia. Remember, Australia is a $32 billion US opportunity. The US is almost 900 trillion. The allied market is 1.2 trillion, growing to 1.9 trillion. The allied market is the 38 countries that we can sell to without being arrested as a gun runner. The nice thing is each one of those 38 countries has an Army, Navy and Air Force. God bless America, they've got the Marines as well. Each one of those has a special forces, at least one, has their own checkbook that they can buy stuff with. No longer do you have to go for the big guy at the front and wait 10 years for a tender to come through. Defence procurement's a lot easier. The last thing that makes defence hard is the societal pox, that's ESG. So, how we can have ESG as a concept in a robust Western democracy, not backing defence, the realm I find incredible. But if you can stare past ESG, I've got no solution to this, otherwise we just need to ban it. If you can stare past ESG, the defence asset class is brilliant for all the reasons mentioned above. So how do you make the defence asset class easier? For one, you forget about the local market. It's small. $32 billion US dollars compared to 1.2 growing to $1.9 trillion by 2028. You need to leverage local R&D spending. You cannot invest in businesses that need your dollars to create something. You need to find the businesses that have created something with free money from the government and then take them into a cleverer market. Portfolio construction is very, very important. Exits in this space are accelerating. Typically, the exits here were to PE-backed operations but on an EBITDA multiple. We're now actually seeing, with acceleration of venture capital in the space, we're seeing exits accelerate at the moment as well. So that's great and is gaining momentum. So you can do that yourself, or you can invest in a fund that invests in defence anyway. I happen to have one of these called Beaton's Own Venture Partners. We're somewhat of a standard venture fund looking to raise $60 million, and I can go through the details later on. We're looking to invest in sovereign Australian businesses in the defence space. We're an ESG arbitrage fund. Why is that? We invest in businesses that drive other investors away. We invest in the things that other investors irrationally hate. We invest in lethality and survivability. We invest in the things that soldiers, sailors and airmen hopefully never have to use to do their ultimate jobs. So we think there's value in the fact that there's no investors there. My job as an investor is to buy low and to sell high. So I need in the early stages to be there, very, very little competition. If you want to learn more about the business of defence, we're also running a trip to the US in October. So heading to LA, where we're getting to visit a business called Andril, who's probably the Google of the defence venture space. And we're actually having a tour by their CEO, who's a bit of an icon in the industry, a chap called Palmer Luckey. Because if you're a California skater boy, you can call yourself Palmer Luckey. Then we're heading off to Austin. We're going to various businesses in LA, then off to Austin, which is a very heavy defence-centric town, before heading to DC and talking to the embassy and the House Armed Services and Armed Services Appropriations Committee. So if you want to understand how to diligence companies and how to do defence, please look us up on our LinkedIn page. We'd be more happy to chat to you about coming to the US in October, and getting you to understand a lot more with us how you actually invest in defence and do it the right way. Otherwise, that's me with 18 seconds to go. Thank you very much.